I never imagined my CEO's test would bring my mother's sacrifice to light. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air crackled with tension as we gathered in the boardroom, each heartbeat echoing louder than the last. My palms were sweaty. I could feel my throat tightening, the fear of the unknown wrapping around me like a vice. There I was, surrounded by glitzy suits and polished shoes, feeling like a mismatched piece in a grand puzzle. The walls felt like they were closing in. My boss, Mr. Kensington, his hard gaze scanning the room, had a reputation for relentless challenges. There was something unsettling in the air, a mystery swirling, clinging to our skin like a fog. I could see the nervous glances exchanged among my colleagues, and I was no exception. My thoughts drifted to my mother, the sacrifices she made for our family, the late nights and the worn-down shoes. But this test felt different. It wasn't just about the promotion I had been vying for. Any mention of family in a corporate setting usually sent shivers down our spines. There was danger in vulnerability. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were about to uncover secrets buried in the depths of corporate smart talk, the kind that reshapes lives. I closed my eyes for a second. Memories of my mother's soft voice flooded back, her laughter, her warmth. I could almost smell her favorite perfume, lavender mixed with a touch of cinnamon. Was she somehow involved in this twisted test? The silence deepened, and my heart raced, pounding against my ribs like a plea. Then Mr. Kensington's voice sliced through my thoughts, inviting us to share something personal. A ripple of shock moved through the room. I could hear the faint sound of a pen tapping against the table, a collective breath being held. He pointed at me, demanding I go first. My heart dropped. I thought of my mother again. Did she know what I was about to share? Would it expose her? I began to speak, my voice quivering slightly. My mother taught me resilience, and suddenly, I saw the flicker of something in Mr. Kensington's eyes, something both alarmed and intrigued. It made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. What did he know? Then, the lights flickered, casting eerie shadows across the room. A tension that pulsed like electricity filled the air. All eyes were on me, echoes of my words hanging, shadows of my mother's legacy clashing with cold ambition. What dark truth was this test about to reveal? My heart raced faster, each thud louder than the last, drowning out trust, drowning out hope. Was my mother's sacrifice perhaps woven into a web deeper than I dared imagine? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The minutes stretched painfully long as I gathered the fractured fragments of my thoughts. The room felt suffocating, the air thick with unspoken words and hidden truths. I could sense the weight of my colleagues' gazes, their expressions ranging from curiosity to judgment. In this high-stakes arena, my past suddenly felt like a target. I didn't want to share more, yet I knew that the challenge Mr. Kensington demanded couldn't be taken lightly. With a deep breath, I pressed on. She sacrificed everything to give me a better life. Worked multiple jobs, wore herself thin. My voice wobbled. I could feel tears pricking at the corners of my eyes, threatening to spill over. How could I portray her strength without shattering the bond we shared? But she taught me to stand tall, to always fight for what I believe in. That's why I'm here. My heartbeat was a frantic drumroll in the silence. As my revelation hung in the air, the flickering of the lights intensified, shadows waltzing menacingly across the walls, as if they were dancing to the tune of our secrets. Then, unexpectedly, Mr. Kensington leaned forward, a vulnerable question on his lips. Tell us, what would you say if you could speak to her now? His tone held a gentleness that surprised me, cutting against the harshness of the situation. I stuttered for a moment, processing the sudden shift from corporate coldness to genuine inquiry. I would tell her I love her. That ungrateful. But also my words began to catch in my throat again. I want to understand. Why did she keep so many secrets? There was a moment of heaviness in the room, a shared breath where I felt the walls tremble with the weight of unacknowledged stories. The colleagues who had seemed like stoic chess pieces now displayed flickers of empathy, eyes softened, shoulders lowered ever so slightly. I could see they were beginning to peel back their own masks, the corporate facade slipping just a bit. As the silence deepened, a colleague named Elise, always sharp-tongued, always ready to pounce, surprised me. I relate to that. My mother worked herself to the bone too. Never spoke of the struggles we faced. Seems part of their generation, doesn't it? Her unexpected kindness lit a small flame in me, a tiny flicker of connection in the otherwise cold boardroom. Others nodded, murmurs that sounded almost like a chorus began to rise, voices sharing snippets of their own family struggles, unseen burdens that weighed them down. We were finding fragments of solace in shared pain. But then, the ground felt unsteady beneath me as Mr. Kensington's expression morphed. His eyes darkened, the mask of empathy fading as he reminded us, vulnerability comes with risks. If you're chosen to move forward, it will demand everything you think you know about loyalty, trust, and sacrifice. What did he mean? The sense of impending doom settled over me again like a heavy, wet blanket. My heart raced, excitement and fear twirling in a chaotic dance. Just when I thought I could breathe again, I became acutely aware of the implications behind his words, a chill creeping down my spine. Then, almost as if sensing the shifting tides in the room, Mr. Kensington continued, "Confession breeds connection, but it also allows for reckoning." What could he possibly know? His eyes, steely yet strangely familiar, lingered on me just a second too long. As my mind raced, I felt a sudden wave of nausea. I had to escape, had to find a way to gather myself. The weight of the test was suffocating, but then an unexpected turn took place. Before I could backtrack and shield myself with silence, an email banner popped up on my phone, distracting me momentarily. It was from my mother's old friend, Linda. I hadn't seen or spoken to her in years. The subject line made my heart pound, discovering the truth. The room spun around me as I read the first line, "You need to know what your mother kept hidden from you." The walls seemed to close in further, the haunting past threatening to spill over into the present. All at once, I could feel the ground shifting beneath my feet. Was this the moment I had been dreading? Would my mother's sacrifice be revealed as something darker? As the session came to an end and the meeting closed, every decision loomed before me, heavy with implications. I needed to find out what Linda knew, but what if it tore apart everything I thought I knew about my mother? My breath quickened as I slid my phone back into my pocket. The world felt tilted, a crossroads where love and betrayal conspired to fray the threads of my reality. I could hear Mr. Kensington's voice echo in my mind, a dark promise lingering in the air. The most painful sacrifices often brought the deepest truths, whether we were ready or not. And with every heartbeat, the clarity twisted like a knife, reminding me that I was descending into a labyrinth with no clear exit, and the only way out was through the very heart of my mother's buried secrets. The evening air was sharp with the bite of uncertainty as I stepped outside the corporate building, the chaos of emotions swirling within me like a tempest. I found a moment of sanctuary under the dim glow of a street lamp, its light flickering like the hope I was trying to grasp. How could I face the possibility that my mother, whom I revered, could have hidden truths that might undo my cherished memories? The sun dipped below the skyline, casting long shadows across the sidewalk. Each step away from the building felt heavier, as if the burden of my impending discoveries weighed down not just my heart but my very soul. My fingers trembled as I pulled out my phone to reread Linda's email. Discovering the truth. I exhaled sharply, the words resonating in my mind like a foreboding chime. Something whispered to me that this was not just an inquiry into my mother's past, it could unravel everything I believed about her and about myself. By the time I reached the small cafe just a few blocks away, my hands were clammy and my chest tightened with anxiety. I found a table in the back corner and set down my bag as I fished out my notebook, more out of habit than necessity, my thoughts clamoring for escape. But then I caught sight of a familiar face across the room, sitting with her back to me. It was Mia, the barista who always had a kind word or a shared laugh. Knowing my favorite drink was a simple comfortable warm mocha with a sprinkle of cinnamon, she approached with a bright smile, completely unaware of the storm brewing within me. "Hey there. One mocha coming right up. You look a little shaken. Everything okay?" Her voice was soothing, a gentle balm interspersed in my whirlwind. I forced a smile and nodded, grateful for her kindness. "Just a lot on my mind," I replied, taking a moment to breathe in her warmth. "Want to talk about it? Or maybe just need a moment of distraction?" she offered, her eyes sparkling with empathy. Those words wrapped around me like a protective cloak, and for a brief moment, I considered sharing my turmoil, the invisible load I carried. Instead, I opted for a vague nod, not ready to pull any more layers back just yet. After a few moments, she set down the mocha, the soothing aroma rising up and bringing a pleading grin to my lips. "Thanks, Mia." "Really," I managed. She flashed a knowing smile, and just before she left, she said, "Remember, it's okay to seek help when things feel heavy. You're not alone." Her words stuck. As simple as they were, they rang like a bell, reminding me of the human connection amidst the chaos. I took a sip of the rich chocolate and felt a flicker of warmth within, the sweetness contrasting sharply with the bitterness of my thoughts. But as I savored that brief comfort, the phone buzzed again in my pocket, jolting me back to the impending storm. It was another message from Linda, this one only 2 words: "Call me." The walls of the cafe, once a refuge, now felt closing in. The weight of her message pounded in sync with my racing heart. I took a shaky breath, stalling for time, reluctant to navigate the unfolding maze of my mother's secrets, yet somehow compelled to uncover the truth. "Excuse me," I muttered as I ducked out of the cafe, the bell of the door jingling behind me. The evening air bit at my skin, reviving me into a state of anxious alertness. I found a quiet corner in the alley adjacent to the cafe, a space where shadows intertwined and whispers were lost to the rustling leaves above. With trembling fingers, I dialed. "Hello?" came Linda's voice, sounding distant yet compelling. It was thick with layers of emotion, and I felt the tension crackle between us. "Linda, it's me. You said I needed to know something. Thank you for calling. I didn't want to send another email. It's sensitive." She hesitated for a moment, then continued, "Your mother kept so much from you, things that could change how you see everything. There are parts of her life she sheltered you from for good reason." "Like what?" My voice was a whisper, tinged with fear. Her silence stretched painfully long, before she finally said, "There are shadows in the past, things she sacrificed to protect you. But those shadows don't just involve her. They go deeper into family ties you never knew existed. If you're ready for this, you must be prepared to confront not just her choices, but the choices of those around her. What could possibly exist beyond my mother's sacrifices? Why was she so afraid of the truth?" "Linda, I don't know if I can," but before I could finish my thought, Linda's voice dropped to a low whisper, almost conspiratorial. "You should also know there's someone looking for you. Someone who may know more about your family than you could ever imagine." A jolt of realization struck me, sending ice through my veins. "Who? I can't say more without meeting. Just be cautious. Not everyone who claims to care has your best interest at heart." The line went dead, and I stood alone in the shadows, enveloped in a suffocating cloud of confusion and foreboding. My heart raced anew as I came to grips with the mounting layers of secrecy surrounding my mother's past, the possibility of hidden family ties, of other lives intertwined in ways that could rend mine apart. As I stepped back into the street, the chill of night wrapped around me. The evening felt pregnant with unanswered questions. What truth was waiting in the dark recesses of my mother's past? And would I have the courage to unearth it, even if doing so threatened everything I held dear? The streets bustled with life, yet I felt as if I were trapped in a dream where everything moved in slow motion. The glow of the city lights blurred together, merging with a web of questions that invaded my thoughts. Everyone around me seemed blissfully unaware of the emotional chasm I was teetering on the edge of phone that threatened to swallow me whole. That I headed toward my apartment, the familiar route a stark contrast to the tumult inside me. Each echoing footstep resonated with my heartbeat, a metronome of anxiety tick-tocking away precious moments of clarity. What could be lurking in the shadows of my mother's past, waiting to reshape everything I thought I knew? As I reached my building, a sense of resistance welled up within me. I hired this apartment with her, nestled in my dream to carve out a life that reflected our shared hopes. But now, standing at the door, it felt not just like a home but a relic of memories some I held close and others I braced to challenge. The weight of unwrapping my mother's past pressed against my chest, robbing me of the air I needed. With a reluctant sigh, I unlocked the door and stepped inside, only to be met with the reassuring aroma of spices wafting from the kitchen. Emma, my roommate, was making dinner, her laughter weaving through the air as she chatted with a friend over the phone. The sound was a welcome distraction, a reminder that life, in all its ordinary glory, still existed outside of my turmoil. "Hey! You're just in time. We're having your favorite chili," Emma called, her smile radiant as she transitioned from the phone to greet me. "Smells amazing," I replied, trying to muster the enthusiasm her presence inspired. She peered at me, her head tilted in concern. "You don't look so great. Everything okay, really?" A small part of me wanted to spill my worries, but I held back, weighing my emotional burden against the concern etched in her features. "Just some stuff at work," I managed, knowing she'd understand if I said more but dreading her penetrating questions. "Want to share some of that chili with a side of your troubles? Or are we playing mysterious tonight?" She teased, lightly nudging my shoulder that I couldn't help but grin, the warmth and familiarity of her friendship setting off a brief flicker of hope in the heavy atmosphere. "I might take you up on that. Just give me a minute, okay?" As I retreated to my room, I allowed myself a moment to breathe, to collect the shambles of my racing thoughts. But as I sat on the edge of my bed, the urge to reach for my phone resurfaced. Linda's warning echoed. Someone was looking for me, someone who could know more about my family than I could imagine. What did that even mean? I grabbed the phone, my fingers hovering over the screen as nerves thrummed underneath my skin. The idea that someone sought me out, that mysterious connection almost suffocated me. Yet there was a pull, an undeniable curiosity about who might be lurking just beyond the fringes of my awareness. That in a moment of impulse, I pulled up Linda's contact and sent a quick message, "Can we meet? I need to know more." The response was swift and reassuring, "Of course. Tomorrow at noon, my office." I took a deep breath, the decision to confront my mother's hidden truths solidifying within me. Tomorrow would mark the beginning of unraveling the intricate tapestry of her life. And in doing so, I might find my own place within its threads. Dinner was a blur, Emma's laughter a soft backdrop to my racing mind. I engaged in small talk as we shared stories of our week, but each word felt anchored in an unseen weight. The moments of joy ebbed and flowed, a tide that drew me back to an unshakable reality. Later that night, as I prepared for bed, doubts crept in. Would uncovering these truths reward me with clarity or only chain me to darker revelations? I couldn't linger on that thought, so I closed my eyes, hoping that sleep would embrace me with a temporary reprieve. It was in the quiet hours of the night that a knock echoed through the apartment, pulling me from the edge of slumber. Heart racing, I slipped out of bed and tiptoed toward the door. Emma was still asleep, a gentle rhythm of breaths just beyond the thin walls, yet the knock came again, persistent. Cautiously, I peered through the peephole and froze. Walter, my mother's old friend, stood on the other side, his figure unfamiliar yet hauntingly familiar. The shadows cast on his face told stories I hadn't uncovered yet. He was both a stranger and a ghost from my past. That I hesitated, the air thick with tension before slowly opening the door. Their eyes locked, his intent, sharp as glass. In that instant, I realized that this encounter was more than just a courtesy visit. Walter had come for something. "What are you doing here?" I whispered, a mix of panic and curiosity swirling within me. His gaze held a storm of emotions: fear, urgency. "We need to talk. It's about your mother and everything she never told you." Suddenly, the cacophony of unanswered questions cascaded over me in waves. Here was the very catalyst of my unraveling, standing on my doorstep with half-formed truths poised like daggers above my heart. I didn't know if I was ready to hear what he had to say, yet the necessity for answers loomed greater. "Please, come in." My voice trembled as I stepped aside, allowing him to cross the threshold into a space transformed by secrets, uncertainty, and the demand for truth. The moment Walter stepped inside, the room seemed to grow smaller, the air charged with a tension that threatened to suffocate me. He closed the door behind him with a quiet finality, and I struggled to contain the flood of questions that surged within me. "Sit down," I offered, directing him toward the small living area, though I wasn't sure if I was more concerned for his comfort or my own. My hands trembled slightly as I grabbed a couple of chairs, feeling as though we were about to conduct a bizarre interrogation rather than an exchange of urgent revelations. That he sank into the seat, looking older than I remembered, shadows etched into his features. The weight of his arrival pressed heavily on my chest, yet a part of me was undeniably drawn to the mystery that had brought him here. "What is it you need to tell me?" I asked, my voice steadier than my insides felt. Walter took a deep breath, his gaze drifting toward the window, where the soft glow of the city cast fleeting shadows across his worried face. "I've come to warn you. There are things about your mother's past, things that could put you in danger." The word sent an electric shock through me, but I swallowed my immediate instinct to recoil. "Danger? What do you mean?" If my mother had secrets, it was her choice to keep them. Why should I be scared? His eyes sharpened, and he leaned forward, urgency clouding his features. "Because those secrets were never meant to be buried. Your mother made choices that involved powerful people. They're still watching, and they won't hesitate to silence anyone who threatens to uncover the truth." That a cold shiver ran down my spine as my mind began to race. My mother had been a woman of strength, yet I had sensed remnants of grief deep within her, a sorrow tangled with a past I barely knew. "What choices, Walter? What did she do?" He hesitated, the weight of my questions palpable in the stillness that enveloped us. "Years ago, your mother was involved in things that put her at odds with some dangerous individuals. She thought she could keep you safe by keeping you in the dark. But now, with her gone, all those threats resurface. The whirl of vulnerability threatened to engulf me. All the things I'd feared about my mother's past were suddenly so much more real. My thoughts drifted back to the days where she would come home late, the hushed conversations echoing in the night. Each moment felt like a piece of evidence, now a breadcrumb leading to a much larger, darker story. "Why didn't you tell me this sooner?" I pressed, anger bubbling up alongside my fear. "You let me live in ignorance. You were her friend. You should have protected me." Walter winced at my accusation. "I cared for her, I truly did. But some things are too dangerous to discuss lightly. I didn't want to pull you into her world, into her mistakes." As the reality of his words settled, I felt like I was teetering on the edge of a great chasm, one that promised oblivion but also clarity. "What do you want me to do?" I asked, my voice whispering frail hopes. "You need to know the truth, every dark detail. You have to understand the sacrifices she made for you. But it won't be easy. People will come for you," he replied, his eyes pinning me with a burden of urgency I was afraid to shoulder. Taking a moment to absorb his warnings, I felt a flicker of defiance arise within me. "I want to know everything. I can't live in the shadows of her secrets." A small nod from Walter ignited a fire of determination within me, but it quickly dimmed as the weight of impending truths loomed over, heavier than before. "Then, I need you to trust me," he continued. "You'll need protection. I know people who can help, but first, we must start by going back to confront the past directly. In what way?" The question felt laden with dread, but I also recognized it as my lifeline. "I have documents, old correspondences that might trace back to her connections. If we can piece together her life, we may understand who's been tracking you and why," Walter explained, his voice steady now. Just then, the faint sound of my phone buzzing punctuated the tension in the air, a beacon cutting through the murky waters of my thoughts. I glanced at the screen and froze. A text from Linda flashed ominously. "Can't meet tomorrow. Be careful." "Something's come up, Walter," I blurted out, clutching the phone as a chill slid down my spine. Linda said to be careful. "I think someone's on to me." What if a crashing sound echoed from the hallway, interrupting my panic? My heart pounded as I exchanged a glance with Walter, an unspoken agreement that whatever was out there was getting closer. Walter was on his feet in an instant, his earlier urgency morphing into a commanding presence. "We need to move." Now, the reality of our situation crashed over me as I followed his lead. Who would come for me? And as fear and determination intertwined, I realized I was standing on the precipice of uncovering my past, but the shadows threatened more than just secrets, they threatened my very life. As we made our way towards the back door, the uncertainty of what awaited us hung thick in the air, a palpable tension that promised to pull us further into danger. As we slipped out the back door into the chill of the night, the world beyond felt transformed, dangerous, yet electrifying. I could feel the night wrapping around us like a shroud, the bustling sounds of the city muted by the weight of our secrets. Walter guided me through the narrow alleyways, his hand resting on my back as if to shield me from an unseen threat. "Where are we going?" I whispered, anxiety bubbling in my throat. "To a safe house, just until we figure out our next steps," he replied, his voice calm despite the turmoil churning around us. I saw the determination etched into his features, yet it was laced with apprehension, knew that every moment counted. Stay close. That we navigated through a maze of shadows and flickering lamps, our hurried footsteps echoing against the cobblestone streets. I soaked in every detail, each corner we turned, each brick in the wall, my heart racing with both fear and liberation. The thought of uncovering the truth about my mother was almost intoxicating, even if it came wrapped in the chilling realization of danger. "What's in those documents?" I asked, trying to push down the anxiety. "What will they reveal?" Walter took a moment, clearly weighing his words. "There are names, transactions, connections, things your mother had buried deep to keep you safe. They may show who she was involved with and who might be after you." A million questions sprung to my mind, but one rose above the rest, gnawing at my insides. What if I don't like what I find? He stopped at the end of the alley, his gaze locking onto mine with a fierce intensity. "You must be ready to face it. We can't run from our past, and sometimes it's the hardest truths that teach us who we really are." His statement struck me, reverberating through the silence. He delivered the words with a kind of compassion that made me understand he had faced his own battle, shadows that lingered in his life too. For the first time, I saw him not just as a confidant, but as a fellow soldier in this war against our histories that we pressed on, and before long, he led me to what appeared to be a quaint storage building converted into a home. It stood apart, discreet yet sturdy, a sanctuary amidst the brewing storm. Inside, the air smelled of fresh coffee and old books, residential yet somber under the weight of what had transpired. "Please wait here," Walter instructed as he moved toward a locked cabinet against the far wall. "I'll get the files." I watched him rummaging through papers, his brow furrowed with concentration, and I couldn't shake the feeling of impending dread that loomed like a storm cloud. I took a seat at a small wooden table, my eyes catching sight of a framed photograph half hidden beneath a stack of papers. Leaning forward, I pulled it into view and gasped that it was a picture of my mother, vibrant and full of life, laughing with a group of friends at some nameless gathering. But amidst them stood a man I didn't recognize, one whose face was marked by an intensity that sent a chill racing down my spine. He looked familiar, somehow. There was something in his eyes that felt like déjà vu, but I couldn't place it. "Who is this?" I asked, holding the photograph up as Walter returned, his hands filled with folders. Walter's expression shifted, the warmth in his gaze faltering. He glanced at the photograph before returning his focus to the files. "That man, he was one of her associates. I thought had faded from the scene long ago. He's troubled." My heart raced as I cradled the photo, an icy knot forming in my stomach. "What do you mean, trouble? What did my mother?" The sound of shattering glass erupted from the front of the building, cutting me off. My heart stopped, fear washing over me like a tidal wave. Walter snapped into action, his instincts taking over as he pushed me behind him, positioning himself as a shield against the chaos. "Get down," he ordered, moving toward the noise, his hands clenched at his sides, ready for anything. But within me, a storm of panic surged, the realization of how deeply I had fallen into this world of deception washing over me like a heavy veil. In that fleeting moment, everything I thought I knew unraveled, and the weight of my mother's secrets felt more like a curse than a shield. The breach of the front door shattered the remnants of safety I thought I had, and I knew, in that instant, whatever secrets she harbored were now clawing their way to the surface, demanding to be acknowledged, and just as swiftly as it started, the entire aura was flipped. We stood at the brink of confrontation, secrets unleashed. My heart raced against the backdrop of danger. I desperately scanned the room, searching for an escape route, knowing that the path we had embarked on was irreversible. Who was coming for me this time? As Walter shouted for me to stay low, I caught a glimpse of movement on the other side of the room. It dawned on me that shadows weren't just lurking in the corners of my past, they were now hunting for me, ready to meet my truth with wrath. And with that chilling realization, the stakes of my mother's forgotten sacrifices surged to unbearable heights. As the shards of glass scattered around us, my heart pounded relentlessly against my ribcage, each thump echoing the urgency of our situation. Walter's silhouette towered protectively before me, a sentinel against the encroaching chaos. My mind raced through the possibilities. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. I could hardly breathe, each inhale weighted with disbelief and terror. The chilling sound of footsteps crept closer, jagged and relentless. I clutched the photograph of my mother tightly, the memories of her laughter intertwined with the stark reality that was now grasping at my throat like a vice. The man in the picture, the one Walter had deemed trouble, I could feel his presence lurking in the shadows, taunting me with unanswered questions. "Stay behind me," Walter repeated, his voice steadied, but his eyes betrayed the fear underneath. I nodded, shivering against the coldness of the night that seemed to seep through the walls. My thoughts were a whirlwind of emotions: resentment, confusion, heartbreak. The weight of my mother's choices pressed down on me, circling around my chest like an anaconda, slowly constricting me. As the shuffling footsteps grew louder, I caught snippets of voices, low but insistent. "Find her," one demanded, a husky growl filled with authority. "Don't let her escape." Walter gripped the edges of the cabinet, a silent determination coursing through him. He glanced back at me, his eyes softening momentarily, an unspoken promise lingering in the air. In that fleeting moment, I felt an unfamiliar flicker of hope. I had someone willing to protect me in the face of uncertainty and fear. But hope felt heavy against the backdrop of betrayal and secrecy, a fragile flame flickering amidst an overwhelming storm. Suddenly, Walter stepped stealthily toward the door, his movements calm and calculated. Before I could call out to him, he turned back and whispered fiercely, "If they find you, you must run. Head to the back exit." My pulse quickened. The weight of those words could shatter this moment of hope. "What about you?" "It'll distract them," he insisted, his voice resolute yet tinged with a hint of desperation. The intensity of his gaze pinned me in place. "You need to find the truth about your mother. You are stronger than you know, and you have to discover for yourself what she was protecting you from." Tears filled my eyes, realizing the gravity of our predicament, and yet the quiet faith he placed in me sparked a sense of courage I was unaware I possessed. Somehow, amidst the chaos, I felt an unexpected kindness wrapped in the warmth of his belief. With a heavy heart, I nodded, swallowing the lump of fear lodged in my throat. Walter moved to the door, holding his breath as he stepped into the path of danger, making himself a target to buy me precious seconds. "Now," he urged, the urgency spilling into his voice. I didn't hesitate. I dashed toward the back exit, the world around me fading into a blurry haze. My hands brushed against the cool, rough walls as I barreled through the dimly lit corridor, each step fueled by determination mixed with dread. I could hear the commotion building behind me, the hostile voices now echoing like thunder in a storm. But just as I reached the door, an image flashed in my mind: the photograph of my mother, her radiant smile hovering like a guiding star. I took a deep breath, my resolve hardening as I swung the door open, the night air hitting my face like a refreshing embrace. Outside, the moon loomed high, drenching the cobblestones with silver light. I slipped into the alley, my heart racing as I instinctively turned right, urgency propelling me deeper into sanctuary or a trap. With every heartbeat, doubt crept in. What would I find? Would it lead to my mother, or was it another shadow designed to envelop me? As I sprinted, my mind struggled to keep pace. The night felt alive, every sound magnified, but as I turned another corner, I was confronted with an unexpected sight. A figure stood against a brick wall, illuminated by the faint glow of a street lamp. He looked at me with a familiar intensity, and within seconds, a gut-wrenching realization shook me to my core that it was him, the man from my mother's photograph. "Hello, Ava," he said, a smile creeping across his lips, tainted with something sinister. "I've been waiting for you." Time froze around me, fear gripping my heart as the weight of my mother's decisions plunged me into a deep abyss of uncertainty. Everything I thought I understood began to unravel, and I could do nothing but stand there, paralyzed by the revelation that the world I thought I was uncovering was dark and tangled far more than I could have imagined. The words slithered into my consciousness, suffocating my breath, filling the air with an electric tension. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to run, yet I stood frozen, entrapped by the gaze of the very man who had haunted my mother's past and, by extension, my own. "What do you want?" I managed to whisper, my voice barely breaking free from my tightened throat. The shadows veiled his features, but there was no mistaking the sense of familiarity in his stance. He was a figure from a time when my mother's laughter painted the walls of our home with joy, a past that suddenly felt unreachable and foreign. That he took a step closer, the moonlight catching a glint of something sharp in his pocket, a chill creeping down my spine. "I wish we could have met under different circumstances. But your mother was never for you to understand." My heart teetered on the edge of a chasm, every rapid thump echoing my rising panic. Memories of my mother's gentle smile fought against the shadowy figure before me, creating a sharp dichotomy between the woman I loved and the chaos of her hidden life. "You knew her?" I felt a tremor betraying my fear, my breath hitching. "What did she get involved in? Why did she keep me away from you from all of this?" He chuckled, a low, dark sound that sent a tremor of unease through the air. "Oh, she thought she was protecting you, but there are truths that need to come to light, my dear Ava. You're more entwined in this world than you realize. That photograph, she thought keeping you away from me would keep you safe. But you are destined to know your legacy." His eyes danced with an unsettling mixture of admiration and menace. "Legacy?" I spat, annoyed at the casual way he wielded the word like a weapon. "You mean your legacy, the pain you've caused?" "Pain? No, not pain. Power." His smile widened, revealing a glimpse of something darker edging towards insanity. "Your mother was a player in a much larger game. Without her, you have an opportunity to step into the role she left behind. We can accomplish extraordinary things together." "Accomplish? You think I'd want anything to do with you?" I stepped back, firmly gripping the edges of my mother's photograph, me only connection to the woman who had fiercely protected me. "You're just a monster hidden in the shadows, perhaps, but I'm the only one who can show you who you are meant to be," he insisted, his tone shifting, converting coaxing words into venomous suggestions. "You'll see. We can change the dynamics of this power struggle. Join me, and your mother's legacy can live on through you." A flicker of anger rose against the aching backdrop of confusion. I was ready to turn and flee, to find somewhere anywhere safe, yet conflicting feelings clawed at my conscience. Could my mother really have been involved in something so vast and treacherous? Mistrust and fear chilled my blood. "I don't want anything to do with this legacy," I shot back. "I want to understand my mother. I want her back." His laughter rattled the air, sly and sharp. "You won't get far running from the truth, Ava. It's in your blood. And in time, I will unearth it, whether you choose to stand with me or against me." In the depths of his ominous words, I found a hint of confirmation. He knew something crucial about my mother, our family, and the choices she made. Desperation washed over me. I needed the truth, yet the fear of where it might lead me was paralyzing. Suddenly, a rustle in the alley broke the tension, and we both turned instinctively towards the sound. I held my breath, the world narrowing to that single moment. My heart raced faster than ever before, a primal instinct kicking in as I looked back at him. Go on, it'll give you a head start. Why would you do that? Because I'm feeling generous, Ava. He stepped back, a dark glimmer of amusement in his eyes. But don't think this is done. I'll be waiting for you to come to your senses. With his warning hanging in the air, I knew I had to decide quickly. As he melted into the shadows, the weight of his words clung to me like a heavy cloak. I turned and ran, propelled by fear, but also by an insatiable curiosity born from his revelations. The night enveloped me once more, a blanket of uncertainty and dread. This wasn't just about my mother's past anymore. It was about uncovering layers of betrayal, unearthing truths that would challenge everything I believed. And as I sprinted away, my heart heavy with a mix of longing for answers and resolve to uncover them, a new determination ignited within me. But just as I rounded the corner, a familiar face stepped into my path, their expression one of confusion and shock. It was my best friend, Mara, her eyes wide as she gripped my shoulders tightly. Ava, what happened? I saw you running before I could respond. A loud crash echoed through the alleyway behind me, and instinctively, I glanced back, adrenaline flooding my veins. From the shadowy depths emerged figures I recognized. Walter. He was running towards me, panic etched across his face, but behind him those twin shadows pursuing him with cold, predatory intent. Mara, run! I shouted, my heart pounding as the implications of this moment crashed over me. I had run into a trap, a storm brewing at every angle. As Mara pulled me toward the street, I felt the chill of fear at my back, a rush of urgency surging through my veins. With each fleeing moment, I could not shake the chilling reminder of the man waiting for me, the truth lurking just beyond the walls of shadows. The stakes were rising, and I could only wonder what secrets still lay ahead, buried in the darkness and tangled in my mother's legacy. The pavement beneath my feet blurred as I and Mara fled towards the streetlights, her grip firm, almost protective. Each hurried step felt like a countdown, a race against the darkness that threatened to engulf us. I could hear the chaos receding behind us, the pounding of footsteps, the muffled voices, but the pounding of my heart drowned out everything else. What's going on, Ava? Who were you talking to? Mara ventured, breathless, as we ducked into a narrow alley to find cover. She scanned the shadows nervously, and I could see the worry etched on her face growing more intense. Just someone who knows about my mom, I panted, my throat tight. Someone who I hesitated, unsure of how to traverse the unsettling terrain of truth and fear. Someone who makes me doubt everything I thought I knew about her. Mara's eyes widened, moisture lingering like a warning on the brink of spilling over. Ava, we need to leave away from here. Whatever this is, it'll help you figure it out, but we need to go now. Her loyalty was an anchor in the storm, yet as I looked into her eyes, I felt guilty. The risks were swirling like a tempest in my mind, yet I'd drawn her into this web. What if leaving means running from the truth? I replied, chewing on the words as they tumbled out, cracking under the weight of their meaning. What if I need to face whatever it is that's lurking out there? You think I'll let you face it alone? She challenged, crossing her arms tightly, her resolve glowing in her gaze. You're not in this alone, Ava. Well, uncover whatever your mother's legacy holds together, but only if you trust me. In her earnestness, I found a flicker of hope amidst the numbness cloaking my heart. I nodded, the tension lessening slightly, but the weight of the revelations loomed overhead, a specter refusing to allow peace. All right, I relented. All around, the world loomed with shadow and mystery, every corner steeped in uncertainty. But we need to get to a safe place first. I don't want them to find us. As we edged from our hiding spot, the distant sound of sirens began to pierce the night, a haunting reminder of the chaos that buzzed around us. The air felt charged, as if the very atmosphere was preparing for a storm. Where do we go? Mara asked, looking around for familiarity amidst the chaos gripping my heart. We darted between the sections of the street, moving quickly, every reflection in the dark making me glance over my shoulder. But before I could answer, my phone vibrated wildly in my pocket, an unexpected disturbance amid the pulse of fear. Who is it? Mara inquired as I pulled it out, my fingers shaking slightly. The screen illuminated with a name that sent a pang of dread through me, Walter. I hesitated, recalling the panic on his face as he ran towards me. The gravity of the situation pierced my resolve. He was holding something, a truth that perhaps tied directly to the shadows lurking behind me. I have to answer, I said, pressing the button before I could think it through, Walter. I spoke, my voice trembling slightly, unsure of what would come next. Ava. Thank God, he gasped. I saw them chasing you. Where are you? I'm safe for now, I assured, though my tone was laced with stress. But I need to know what you found out. What are they after? It's more than just you, he whispered quickly, cautious of the sounds around him. I overheard them. They're looking for something your mother hid, a piece of her past. That man you met, he knows about it. He's trying to get to you because of it. A cold dread slithered through my spine. A piece of my mother that could unlock secrets or unleash chaos. What kind of piece? I queried urgently. A box, I think, or a file. Something that would expose everything, he replied, his voice wavering. A sudden commotion erupted somewhere close. The sound of footsteps, a flare of bright light cutting through the darkness. Walter, they're coming. You have to hide, I urged, my heart racing again. But I could faintly hear him breathing heavily. It's too late for that. They've already discovered the line went dead, a chilling void rushing in to fill the silence he left behind. The air around me thickened as dread coiled around my heart, a knot forming deep within me. Walter. Walter. I cried into the abyss, but all that returned was the echoing emptiness of the night, leaving us on the precipice of despair. We can't stay here, Mara pressed, panic evident in her eyes. We have to move, Ava. As we hurried down the street, the shadows whispered of truths left unspoken, and I couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that with each step I took, I was spiraling deeper into a web spun by my mother's concealed past. Yet, against the suffocating dark, a flicker of determination ignited within me. I still had something, Mara, who believed in me, and a drive to uncover the meaning behind the legacy my mother had left behind. But I couldn't predict the cost those answers might demand. Just as we reached an alley toward freedom, I felt the sensation of being watched, a chill racing down my spine. And without warning, a figure emerged from the shadows, the man from earlier, the puppet master of fate, smiling as though he knew exactly where we were headed. Did you really think you could escape the truth, Ava? He called to us, the darkness coiling at his heels. Your mother's secrets were never meant to remain buried. My heart sank, the specter of his presence looming behind me like a grim harbinger. And just like that, my attempt to outrun the impending storm became an inescapable reality, one that threatened to reveal everything I was not prepared to hear. The alley felt suffocating, the walls creeping closer as panic surged within me. My mind raced with thoughts of Walter, of my mother, and the looming shadows of the past intertwined with whom I had yet to discover. As the man's cold eyes glinted in the dim light, those haunting words became a chilling echo, a truth I was desperately trying to avoid. Let us go. I shouted, anger surging through me. You don't have the right to threaten us. His laughter hit my ears like shards of glass. Threaten? No, Ava, I'm offering you a chance. Your mother gave up everything to protect you from this world, the legacy that defines you. Now that I took a step back, my heart pounding in my chest. What do you want from me? The man took a deliberate step closer, the air between us felt electric, simmering with secrets and dangerously hidden motivations. Just a commitment, dear Ava. It's time to embrace who you are meant to be, to honor your mother's true purpose and all the sacrifices she made, her purpose. I spat, frustration and confusion intertwining. You think I'm going to fall in line with your plans? You're dreaming. His expression hardened, and I noticed a flicker of impatience in his stance, making my heart race in tandem with his rising anger. You're already part of this game, whether you choose to admit it or not. The question is, will you walk the path with me, or face the consequences? I stepped back even more, grabbing Mara's hand, needing her strength next to me as our shared fear intensified. We faced him as a united front, and the flicker of courage ignited. You may think you hold the power, but in the end, nothing can change who I am or what my mother stood for. I won't let you manipulate me. His smile faltered, and I could see the frustration bubbling beneath the surface. You really have no idea what you're dealing with, do you? His tone turned icy. If you think I'm the worst thing out there, then you're seriously mistaken. You'll soon learn that the past never really dies, it only waits patiently for those it claims. The warning weighed heavy in the air, settling around us like a thick fog. My instincts kicked in, and I felt the hair on the back of my neck rise, the urge to flee, to escape becoming a primal reaction. But before I could process my thoughts, I heard a familiar voice calling my name, echoing through the night like a beacon. Ava. Mara. It was Walter had returned. Relief flooded through me, but the man's gaze shifted, an unsettling realization overtaking his features. Walter. I shouted, pulling on Mara's hand tightly as we turned to meet him. Walter sprinted toward us, his face wrought with urgency. They're closing in. He didn't miss a beat before gesturing back the way he came. You need to run, I'll hold him off. No. I protested, tears prickling the edges of my vision. You can't. You'll get hurt. I won't let them take you, he insisted, determination fierce in his eyes. Get to safety, find the answers. You're stronger than you know. Mara and I exchanged a look, an understanding passed between us, but there was no time for hesitation. As Walter turned to confront the man, I felt a surge of resolve pulsate through me, overpowering my fear. Before I could second-guess myself, I shouted, Go. I pulled Mara with me and darted into the side street, urgency weaving us through the shadows like a desperate force of instinct. We ran, emotions a swirling mix of trepidation and adrenaline, propelled by the need to uncover the truth. Every stride felt like liberation away from his looming threat, and yet a weight lingered in my heart, the uncertainty clouded by the shadows of those left behind. I refused to look back, even as I sensed danger hot on our heels. What are we doing, Ava? Mara questioned breathlessly, her grip tightening as we ducked into another alleyway, hearts hammering in sync with the chaos unfolding. That I don't know. I admitted, frustration bubbling again, but a flicker of hope ignited in my chest as I grasped the edges of a plan forming. I need to get to that box, the one Walter mentioned. It might have answers. Somewhere in the chaos lies the truth. About my mom, Mara nodded, understanding, her own fear mirrored in her eyes. Then we keep moving. We won't stop until we find it. As we rushed through the network of back alleys, the city felt like a maze cloaked in shadows, lit only by intermittent streetlights casting ghostly shapes on the ground. My mind raced, weaving together every thread of uncertainty, every cautionary tale that had been told about those who lingered too long in the dark. That we reached a larger street, the growing noise reminding us that the world spun on, oblivious to our plight. But I couldn't focus on anyone else, only our purpose mattered now. The file is hidden in our old house, I said finally. My mom showed it to me once. I thought it was just old family stuff, but it's more than that. Now I realize she was trying to keep me safe. Keep it hidden. Let's go, then, Mara urged, determination coursing through her voice as we stepped lightly into the open space, scanning for threats while trying to remain inconspicuous. As we hustled toward my childhood street, memories began to spiral like the leaves in the wind. The house felt like an old friend, even though its warmth grew tainted with secrets and the sense of something darker lurking behind the stony facade. When we finally reached it, the familiar sight of the worn door enveloped me with nostalgia mixed with unease. That I heard pounding footsteps somewhere behind us, the shadow of our pursuers chasing quickly. We need to be fast, I urged, grasping the handle of the door, my heart thudding louder with each passing second. The door creaked open, revealing a house frozen in time. It's just as she left it, I whispered, the aged aroma of memories washing over me. I'd expected it to feel ghostly, but it now felt electric, with the anticipation of what lay hidden within its walls. Stay close. The shadows in the corners of each room felt alive as we navigated through the house, every creak of the floor echoing my fear. With pounding hearts, we made our way to the small study where she would keep important papers, where danger had once found no reason to linger, there. I pointed toward an old leather-bound trunk, untouched by time, that had once stood guard within my mother's space. That's where I remember seeing her hide the important things. Mara joined me, urgency spurring us as we knelt in front of it, fingers trembling with anticipation. I pressed the lid open, a rush of dust swirling around us, revealing family albums and loose papers filled with my mother's handwriting. "We have to find it," I said, sifting through the remnants of her past like they were pieces of a puzzle. Suddenly, a loud crash interrupted us, and my heart dropped. "They're here," I whispered, panic swelling again. "We had to find it, find something before it was too late. Look," Mara shouted as she unearthed a white envelope tucked away in the corner of the trunk. Beneath it, I could see a small metallic box. This must be it. Desperation propelled us, and in a frantic motion, I took the box from her, the metal cold against my skin. The urgency pushed me to open it, revealing a web of documents, photographs, and notes tightly spat out like strands of a forbidden story. "What's all this?" My words tumbled from my lips as I read through the first few lines, each scribble echoing truths I had never fathomed. Notes about deals made, connections formed, tales that betrayed the mother I thought I knew, your mother's records, documentation of her past. Mara breathed, her eyes wide as we rifled through the contents. "Ava, this is incredible," but just as we began piecing together the fractured memories, the door burst open behind us, and the figures we'd feared surged into the house like a dark tide, faces twisted with a mix of ambition and fury. A shiver of terror coursed through me. "Hide!" I hissed, shoving the box into Mara's hands. "We can't let them take it." Before I could catch my breath, I propelled myself toward the door, adrenaline igniting like flame in my veins. The figures trickled inside, their shadows creeping across the walls, threatening to envelop my freedom. "Where is she?" one shouted, eyes sharp as knives, scanning the room as I rushed to buy time. But my thoughts flickered back to my mother's photograph, her laugh, and a small ember of defiance blazed within me. I wouldn't let them take her truth. With a flicker of hope amidst chaos, I turned to face the intruders head-on. "Stay back!" I shouted, clenching my fists tight, feeling the weight of both fear and resolve bolster me. "If you want me, you'll have to go through me." Yet, the moment felt surreal, the shadows thickening like an imprinting memory, taunting me with the remnants of past decisions that demanded to be acknowledged. "We are here for the truth," the man sneered, his gaze seeping into my soul with an unsettling darkness. "That we will uncover what is hidden, Ava. There is no escaping it," he pursued, stepping forward, but even as that fear threatened to overwhelm me, my resolve surged. Pieces of history shifted in my mind, a storm of her secrets weaving a thread between the present and the shadows. I would not stand idle. I would uncover my legacy and match it against the choices made haphazardly. As the figures advanced, I caught glimpses of Mara slipping away, moving towards the back exit to find safety, echoing my instincts of escape and survival. But as she moved, something deep within me kindled, reminding me of the sacrifices made, the courage it took to face the darkness. And just before their shadowy presence consumed me and the memories threatened to tear apart, I raised my voice one last time. "I don't need to escape the truth anymore. I am ready to face it." The words surged through the room like a battle cry, a promise to the shadows that loomed against me with remnants of betrayal. Every shadow has its reckoning, and I was determined to transform my mother's legacy from chains to courage. And as I prepared to stand my ground amidst gathering storm, I understood the power of defiance rested in claiming my truth, not just for me but for my mother, for every secret that battered against the walls of her memory. And as the figures closed in, I vowed I would not be bent nor broken. This was my moment of justice. I would face what was hidden and rewrite the narrative that had bound us for too long. Letting out a breath as affectionate as her love, I braced myself. With every fleeting moment, the burden of my past became my strength, an indelible mark inscribed upon my very essence. "This is not the end, it's just the beginning," I whispered quietly to the shadows, as the world blurred around me until there was only the fire of burgeoning truth making its way to the surface. The spark of redemption ignited fiercely. Mother's legacy, everything but forgotten. And with every reckoning starts the chance to embrace what lies ahead.